We're live from New Delhi, watching TD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Mauritius Prime Minister Naveen Chandra Ramagulam will call on President Draupadi Murmu on the last day of his week-long India visit to also visit the new Parliament building. Gulf states call for concrete response against Israel's attack on Doha. Gulf Cooperation Council's joint defense body to meet soon. Israel threatens Hamas wherever they are. Trump warns Hamas against using Israeli captives in Gaza as human shields. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will travel to Qatar today as Washington expresses unease over Qatar's strike. U.S. strikes alleged Venezuelan drug vessel for the second time in a month. Venezuela's Maduro terms U.S. behavior as aggression. Trump says he'll stop cartels coming by land too. NATO-led military drills underway off Greenland coast, while Belarus and Russia too conduct joint military drills. Both stress readiness in the face of invasion. And on to the details now. Mauritius Prime Minister Naveen Chandra Ramagulam, who is on India visit, is undertaking a tour to many states. On the last day of his visit, that is today, he'll be visiting Rajghat to pay tributes to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, and will also pay a visit to Sadaiv Atal, the memorial of Bharat Ratna and former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The Mauritius Prime Minister Ramagulam also visited Tirupati, a city in the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. The leader, along with his wife, offered prayers at Tirumala temple. Well, during a week-long visit, several MOUs inked for cooperation in technology development projects with India. Mauritius Prime Minister, along with Prime Minister Modi, announced that both the countries are not just partners, but family. Well, the visiting leaders, along with his spouse, offered prayers at the Kashi Vishwanath temple for prosperity of their nation and public welfare. Later, Mauritius Prime Minister also visited the holy city of Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh. With this visit, Mr. Ramagulam became the second head of state after the Prime Minister of Bhutan to offer prayers at the temple. The Mauritius Prime Minister spent about half an hour in the temple complex and also reviewed the construction work. And India's Home Minister Amit Shah will inaugurate second National Conference of Anti-Narcotics Task Force heads of states and union territories in New Delhi today. The two-day conference will serve as a strategic platform to reinforce Prime Minister Narendra Modi's commitment to a drug-free India and to formulate a roadmap to achieve this goal. The theme of the conference is United Resolve Shared Responsibility. The conference will hold a comprehensive review and analysis of the collective efforts made by all concerned stakeholders in combating the drug menace in the country and deliberate on the future roadmap. The minister will also release Narcotics Control Bureau NCB Annual Report 2024 and launch online drug disposal campaign. Well, India takes a giant leap in artificial intelligence with the launch of the AI for Viksit Bharat or Developed India. It aims to accelerate the country's economic growth. Well, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and other key leaders emphasized AI's potential in transforming infrastructure and agriculture with a vision to boost GDP by 2035. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay reports for more.
India is making rapid strides on the space of artificial intelligence, harnessing the potential of the technology for nation's development. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, joined by Minister for Railways, Information and Broadcasting Ashwini Vaishnav and CEO of Niti Aayog BVR Subramaniam, officially launched the initiative AI for Viksit Bharat, the opportunity for accelerated economic growth and the Frontier Tech Repository by Niti Aayog in New Delhi. The launch marks a significant step in India's journey towards leveraging cutting-edge technologies for national development. According to the roadmap released by Niti Aayog and the Niti Frontier Tech Hub, artificial intelligence is set to become a decisive lever in India's economic strategy. The report reveals that widespread AI adoption and a reimagining of research and development could bridge nearly half of the growth gap needed to elevate India's GDP from projected USD 6.6 trillion to USD 8.3 trillion by 2035, a vision aligned with the goal of a Viksit Bharat. The roadmap outlines a strategic action plan to unlock AI's transformative power and convert it into a substantial economic value over the next decade. Speaking at the launch, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman emphasized AI's potential to enhance urban infrastructure and revolutionize agriculture, calling it a key driver for inclusive and sustainable growth.
AI should help us give solutions for better city urban areas which exist and for newer urban centers that we may plan. I think we need to have a greater understanding that AI probably is capable of giving us in situ solutions without having to remove people from where they are, but keep them there, but give them the solutions which has been waiting for decades.
Information Technology Minister Ashwini Vaishnav highlighted that artificial intelligence is poised to fundamentally reshape every facet of human life.
Telecom technology, semiconductors, electric vehicles, biotech, some of the most complex engines, quantum, rare earth, and a few more. These are technologies which we will have to master, we'll have to adopt, we'll have to develop talent pipeline, and we will have to make sure that we remain in the frontier. And over a period of last few decades, the biggest change which has happened and the biggest factor which has joined this constellation of technologies is AI. AI is also going to fundamentally change the way we work, the way we live.
With this ambitious roadmap, India signals its intent to lead the global AI revolution, turning innovation into impact for every citizen. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
While military contingents from India and the U.S. engaged in the 2-week spectrum of tactical drills, including the integrated use of artillery, aviation and electronic warfare systems as part of a bilateral exercise in Alaska. Well, the exercise began on September 1st with initial days featuring command post exercises where staff officers from both sides planned together on ops, command and control and battlefield enablers. While the field training followed, patrols, small unit maneuvers and tactical drills in subarctic terrain. Subsequently, joint artillery units conducted live fire drills at the Yukon training area. Medical readiness was another focus area. India and U.S. teams trained on casualty evacuation, frostbite prevention, high altitude physiology and force health protection. Well, the final phase saw integrated operations with infantry, artillery, aviation, electronic warfare and counter-drone systems under joint command. And India has exported its first ever organic tea shipment from West Bengal to Taiwan, marking a major milestone in agri-trade. Well, the export was facilitated by APADA, APEDA, under the National Programme for Organic Products. Union Minister Piyush Goyal highlighting the milestone on Twitter, calling it a boost for Swadeshi organic products and a win for sustainable farming. Well, the move is expected to benefit tea growers and expand India's presence in global organic markets. Well, the Indian Meteorological Department has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall over the northeastern states and Maharashtra till September 17th. Parts of India, including Maharashtra and northeastern regions covering Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura also are witnessing heavy rainfall. In the last 24 hours, Konkan and sub-Himalayan region, including West Bengal, reported heavy to extremely heavy rainfall. Others like Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Jharkhand, Bihar, Telangana and coastal Andhra Pradesh saw very heavy rainfall. Also, the weather agency reiterated that conditions are favorable for southwest monsoon withdrawal. It earlier announced that the monsoon will start withdrawing from northwest India around September 15th. Also, a red alert remains active for Mumbai, with the Indian Meteorological Department predicting heavy rain in the Maharashtra capital on Monday. The Weather Department had already issued an orange rain alert for Mumbai and neighbouring regions in the coming days. Also, the Met Department has issued a warning for heavy to very heavy rainfall in the 7 districts of Uttarakhand. In view of heavy downpouring, schools will remain closed in Nainital, Dehradun, Chamoli and other districts. Continuous rain in the state halted Kedarnath highway after boulder crashes down amid rain fury in Rudraprayag. Due to heavy rainfall, cloudburst occurred in Karligarh, Sahasradhara at night. Rescue and relief operations of district administration continues. District administration shifted the nearby people to safe places at night. Additionally, a bridge near Fun Valley and Uttarakhand Dental College on the Dehradun-Haridwar National Highway has been damaged, further disrupting traffic in the region. Also in Uttarakhand's Rishikesh, the water level of the Chandrabhaga river has risen significantly, raising concerns among the locals and authorities. Also, the National Disaster Relief Force engaged in rescue and relief operations in states affected by rain and flood continues. 12 persons were rescued from the river edge in Beed in Maharashtra. In Assam, NDRF conducted relief operations at flood-affected village in Golaghat. 8 people and 42 livestock evacuated to safer locations. Team put on standby for further actions. Well, a special yoga session was held on deck aboard the INS Kadmat to promote health and cultural exchange, particularly in Port Moresby, during the celebration of Papua New Guinea's 50th independence anniversary. The aim of the yoga session was to nurture physical strength and inner peace, fostering a sense of calm and balance. With its emphasis on well-being, the session reminded all involved to the importance of holistic health, connecting mind, body and spirit for a stronger, more harmonious life. And now let's take a look at what else is making news in India. The first ever Kumaon car rally was flagged off from Uttar Pradesh's Bareilly on Monday, organized by the Indian Army in collaboration with Indian Army Yellow Motorsports. The 8-day rally will traverse challenging routes, including Uttarakhand's Pithoragarh district, culminating in Nainital, aimed at inspiring youth and children, promoting the Vibrant Village program and showcasing Kumaon's rich culture. The rally also seeks to boost tourism to places like Adi Kailash. Kotan, Rajasthan is set to make history with the creation of a 215-foot-tall Ravan effigy for the Dussehra festival. The massive effigy costing Rs 4.4 lakhs will feature a remote-controlled combustion system, LED-lit crown and velvet attire adorned with golden jewellery. Constructed from 10 tons of steel and 1,500 bamboo pieces, this will be the tallest Ravan effigy ever made, surpassing previous efforts in various other cities. And still to come on DT India Newshour. U.S. appeals court allows Fed Governor Lisa Cook to stay in role amid Trump's effort to oust her. U.S. approves potential sale of F-16 aircraft to Peru. And aiming at cutting costs of public traded companies, President Donald Trump proposes U.S. companies be allowed to report earnings every 6 months.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we decode HAL's bold gamble. Can the Sitara trainer transform into a combat fighter? We explain the Great Nicobar project, India's mega push at the Malacca Gateway. We reveal STAR, the supersonic target shaping India's missile mastery. We analyzed the B-21 Raider, America's futuristic 6th-gen stealth bomber. Stay tuned for more updates this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Open your mind to a whole new world. Explore mystic wonders of nature in the forests.
तो मुझे देख के आपको लग रहा है कि मुझे इजी वाला देना चाहिए.
Uncover secrets hidden deep inside the earth.
And I'd always heard of this ancient Shiv Mandir which is inside a cave.
Experience the rich cultural legacy.
मुझे बताइए इस डांस फॉर्म के बारे में, इस आर्ट फॉर्म के बारे में.
Experience the blend of vibrant warmth and stunning creations.
अरे it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Jharkhand. Let it become a part of you. Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on into the developments from West Asia, an emergency summit of Arab and Muslim countries held in Doha has declared its solidarity with Qatar and condemned Israel's bombing of the Qatari capital last week. Well, the extraordinary joint session between the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation gathered in nearly 60 member states on Monday. Leaders said the meeting marked a critical moment to deliver a united message following what they described as an unprecedented escalation by Israel. A joint statement from the summit called for reviewing diplomatic and economic relations with Israel and initiating legal proceedings against it. While Qatar's fellow Gulf nations, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, along with Egypt, Jordan and Morocco, were among those present that recognize Israel. Also, the leaders of the UAE, Bahrain and Morocco, which signed the Abraham Accords recognizing Israel 5 years ago to the day, did not attend Monday's talks, sending senior representatives instead. Well, during the closing statement of the Emergency Arabic Islamic Summit, Gulf leaders said that the security of their states was indivisible. The GCC said that consultations were already underway among the bloc's military bodies to build up Gulf deterrent capabilities, with a meeting of the group's unified military command to take place soon in Doha. Also, the joint statement called for a meeting to be held in Doha to discuss further steps to ensure that the safety and the joint security of the GCC countries is addressed.
We also expect our strategic partners in the United States to use their influence on Israel in order for it to stop this behavior. We really do expect that. They have leverage and influence on Israel, and it's about time that this leverage and influence to be used.
In fact, meanwhile, Israeli military has begun their ground offensive in Gaza City after launching airstrikes in Qatar. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did not rule out further strikes on Hamas leaders wherever they are. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Monday backed Israel's new offensive on Gaza City and its goal of eradicating Hamas on his visit to Jerusalem. Rubio also took a dim view of the Qatari brokered negotiations for a ceasefire, despite Trump last month predicting an end to the war within weeks. Now, Rubio will travel to Doha on Tuesday to reaffirm America's full support for the Gulf states' sovereignty. He called on Qatar to continue to play a constructive role in resolving the Gaza conflict, saying it could help reach the goals of releasing all 48 hostages still held in Gaza, disarming Hamas, and building a better future for the Gazans. While Qatar is home to the largest U.S. air base in the region. And turning towards U.S. President Donald Trump's comments on the issue, he warned Hamas on Monday that all bets are off. He also said that he has read a news report that Hamas was going to move the hostages above ground to use them as human shields. Trump repeated his assertion that Israel will not be striking Qatar again.
He won't be hitting Qatar, but he will be maybe going after. Now, there was an article that I read in a newspaper just about an hour ago where Hamas said they're going to use the 20 hostages as human shields. They're going to bring them up from the dark tunnels, and they're going to put them in the line of fire so that if Israel goes forward, they're going to die. And I thought that was very terrible, and I put out a statement on that. You saw that.
And for more on this, we have Shubhendu Ghosh joining us. Well, Shubhendu, given the complexities of the U.S. diplomacy in the region right now, how do you think Rubio's support for Israel's offensive and his stance on Qatar's role could affect peace negotiations, especially with Qatar's involvement in both supporting Gaza's sovereignty and serving as a mediator for ceasefire talks?
Hello, Lipakshi. We have to see that the Israeli action that happened in Qatar, in Doha, the casualties of it, the real casualties besides some of the Hamas operatives and personnel of Qatar, one of the casualties has been the peace process, the peace negotiation. Whatever little was earned in the past weeks with Qatar acting as an important mediator between the warring parties appear to have been lost. Now, the key mediator, in fact, is in the process of, in fact, working towards a statement against Israel. You mentioned about the emergency summit of the Arab League and Organization of Islamic Cooperation. We see mediators now joining the leagues of, in fact, the adversary. So in that sense, the situation in the Middle East, in West Asia, has become more complex than before. Any opportunity for a peace negotiation seems to have taken a step back now significantly. Yes, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State of the United States, is visiting the region. He earlier on Monday visited Israel. Whatever little criticism that President Donald Trump had for Israeli action against Qatar seems to be overshadowed by messages of solidarity that Marco Rubio presented in Israel, which would also be heard very clearly by their allies in Qatar and elsewhere, where the Qatari expect that America would come out more strongly in their position, in their leverage against Israel, particularly vis-a-vis the action that Netanyahu took against Doha in trying to target Hamas. However, the kind of posturing that Marco Rubio has done, saying things like countries have the right to defend themselves, even beyond their boundaries, their Qatari allies would want to know what options does the U.S. have for Qatar and other countries who find themselves vulnerable, even as they support U.S. efforts in bringing peace to the region. So in that sense, the situation appears to have deteriorated. The Israeli action, meanwhile, continues in the Palestinian enclaves, going after Hamas, and President Trump also raising a flag about how the Israeli hostages may be used as human shield, really problematizing the situation. But here, the peace process and the peace talks really have taken a big setback with the unilateral Israeli action against Qatar last week.
Absolutely, Shubhendu. The situation is quite dire right now. But with the Gulf uniting against Israel, as we know, and with President Trump's recent comments on Hamas potentially using hostages as human shields, as they've said, how do you interpret the broader implications of his rhetoric on U.S.-Israel relations, as well as on international diplomatic efforts to resolve this conflict?
One cannot imagine, Lipakshi, the kind of risks that the Israeli hostages have had to live through in the past months and year. And the risk against them continues. But the kind of strategic posturing that the adversaries have done, whether it's Israel, Hamas, or the United States, one really fails to read any real concern for the hostages. There appears to be a contest for strategic advantage for the warring sides, not real concerns. The Israeli hostages, Palestinian civilians, children in particular, appear to be victims that nobody really is looking at as far as real action is concerned. There is an interesting pivot that is happening in the international community against Israel that we can notice. We look at the UN vote, the New York declaration that happened earlier, overwhelmingly voting in favor of a two-state solution between Israel and Palestine, also pushing for peace in the region. We know that there is a certain ICC warrant against Prime Minister Netanyahu that prevails. The Arab and Islamic Summit is also expected to come out very strongly as far as their posturing, the statement against Israeli action is concerned. But we'll have to see to what extent can resolutions and action on paper prevent bullets and bombs from destroying Palestine and the civilians in particular. So in that sense, we'll have to wait and watch how the developments pan out from here. But the fact that the key mediators now are in fact joining the leagues of people who would want action against Israel does problematize the entire situation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ravindu, for all those details and explaining it so well. And moving on, at the United Nations, two major issues dominated Security Council meet on Monday. One was the intensifying hostilities between Israel and Yemen's Houthis against the backdrop of the Gaza conflict. UN Special Envoy Hans Brandenburg said Houthis, known formally as Ansar Allah, had targeted Israel with numerous drones and missiles that caused civilian injuries and disrupted an airport. While Britain's Deputy UN Ambassador James Kariuki condemned persistent Houthi aggression with continuing missile and drone attacks against Israel and against shipping in the Red Sea. UNA Chief Tom Fletcher warned of worsening hunger, saying Yemen is the third most food insecure country in the earth. The other issue was the Houthis' detention of UN personnel. More than 40 staff remain in custody along with a colleague who died in detention. Fletcher called the detentions as intolerable.
Detention of another 22 United Nations staff by the Houthi de facto authorities since the 31st of August is intolerable. This is in addition to the 23 staff who were already detained, along with dozens of staff and former staff from international NGOs, civil society, and diplomatic missions. So I would reiterate the central demands that you made as a council in your statement on the 12th of September, the immediate release of all those detained by the de facto authorities, and your clear message that those delivering humanitarian aid must be protected. That arbitrary detention of now 44 UN staff, the forcible entry of UN offices, the seizure of equipment, all of that fundamentally undermines our ability to continue to deliver at scale in these locations.
And moving on, NATO's Arctic Light 2025 military exercise is currently underway off the coast of Greenland with over 550 soldiers from Denmark, France, Germany, Sweden and Norway. A 10-day Arctic drill features the Danish frigate HDMS Niels Duel, F-16 jets, EH-101 helicopters and special forces. France has deployed the FS Gironde support vessel, drones and mountain infantry, while Germany is contributing observer teams. Key activities during the drills include the boarding of vessels, infrastructure protection, drone deployment, search and rescue operations, marine environmental protection and disaster response. While joint war games are also underway between Russia and Belarus with the name Zapad 2025, the exercise being held at training grounds in both countries is a show of force that would say is designed to test combat readiness. But it has unnerved some neighboring countries after the drone incursion into Poland as Moscow's war in Ukraine grinds towards its fourth year. Warsaw has temporarily closed its border with Belarus as a precaution. And the U.S. State Department has approved the potential sale of F-16 aircrafts and related elements of logistics and program support to Peru in a deal valued at an estimated $3.42 billion. The sale will also enhance Peru's military partnership with the United States on an enduring long-term basis. Peru will have no difficulty absorbing these articles and services into its armed forces. The proposed sale will enhance the Peruvian Air Force's ability to control its sovereign airspace. The proposed sale of this equipment and support will not alter the basic military balance in the region. And the U.S. Federal Appeals Court ruled that Central Bank Governor Lisa Cook could remain in her role for now, with a rate-setting meeting this week after U.S. President Donald Trump sought to fire her. Trump has sought to oust Cook from the Federal Reserve over allegations of mortgage fraud, but the ruling from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit allows her to participate in a key two-day interest rate meeting due to start early on Tuesday. Well, the White House campaign to unseat Cook marks an unprecedented bid to reshape the Fed's 7-member governing board. No president has fired a sitting Fed governor in the agency's 112-year history. Well, Trump sought to fire Cook on August 25th, but a federal judge ruled last week that the removal was illegal and reinstated her to the Fed's board. Trump appointee Bill Pulte has accused Cook of mortgage fraud, but Cook has denied the charges. The case threatens to erode the Fed's long-time political independence. Well, the economists prefer independent central banks because they can do unpopular things like lifting interest rates to combat inflation more easily than elected officials. Well, the U.S. Senate narrowly confirmed Stephen Miran to the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors, expanding President Donald Trump's influence over the world's most important central bank and handing his top economic advisor one of 12 interest rate-setting votes on the eve of a key policy meeting. Well, pending the completion of paperwork and his swearing in, Miran will take part in the U.S. Central Bank's two-day policy meeting that starts on Tuesday. And in his latest bid to reshape the American economy, President Donald Trump has endorsed ending the decades-long practice of public companies sharing their financial results once each quarter. Instead, U.S. companies should be allowed to report earnings every 6 months. The president said on his social media site Truth Social that change, which he had previously called for in 2019, would cut costs and discourage short-sightedness on the part of publicly traded companies. Well, Trump also said that this will save money and allow managers to focus on properly running their companies. Currently, the Securities and Exchange Commission requires corporations to report their financial statements every 90 days. Half-yearly reporting would mark a huge change in disclosure requirements and put the U.S. in line with the U.K. and several countries in the European Union. Well, Trump's call puts him squarely on one side of a persistent tension between companies on one hand that seek to lessen the burden of frequent market updates and investor demands for information on the other. And still to come on DD India Newshour. Nepal's new Home Minister Om Prakash Aryal pledges free elections and good governance. U.S. judge rejects lawsuit against SpaceX rocket launches. And World Ozone Day observed today as ozone layer continues to heal.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Mauritius Prime Minister Naveen Chandra Ramagulam will call on President Draupadi Murmu on the last day of his week-long India visit to also visit the new Parliament building. Gulf states call for concrete response against Israel's attack on Doha. Gulf Cooperation Council's joint defense body to meet soon. Israel threatens Hamas wherever they are. Trump warns Hamas against using Israeli captives in Gaza as human shields. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will travel to Qatar today as Washington expresses unease over Qatar's strike. U.S. strikes alleged Venezuelan drug vessel for the second time in a month. Venezuela's Maduro terms U.S. behavior as aggression. Trump says he will stop cartels coming by land too. NATO-led military drills underway off Greenland coast, while Belarus and Russia to conduct joint military drills. Both stress readiness in the face of invasion. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a new military strike on a boat carrying alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean on Monday. 3 men were killed in the strike. Trump termed the violent drug trafficking cartels narco-terrorists. This development comes after U.S. forces struck a boat that Trump said was carrying massive amounts of drugs from Venezuela, killing 11 people. Well, the strike appeared to set the stage for a sustained military campaign in Latin America. 5 U.S. F-35 aircraft were seen landing in Puerto Rico on Saturday after the Trump administration ordered 10 of the stealth fighters to join the build-up. There are also at least 7 U.S. warships in the region, along with 1 nuclear-powered submarine.
What can you tell us about this Venezuelan boat that was taken out? And do you plan to provide proof that these were narco-terrorists who were on their way to the U.S.?
Well, we have proof. All you have to do is look at the cargo that was, like, it's spattered all over the ocean. Big bags of cocaine and fentanyl all over the place. And plus we have recorded evidence that they were leaving. We've recorded them. It was very careful because we know you people would be after us. We're very careful. The military has been amazing.
Meanwhile, the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro said that recent incidents between his country and the United States are an aggression by the U.S., not tensions between the two countries, and that there is no communication between the governments.
No es una tensión.
This is not tension. It's outright aggression, judicial aggression when they criminalize us. Today, I can announce that communication with the U.S. government are severed. They are severed by them. We do not operate under threats. With intimidation, there will never be anything, and they know it. So they have moved from a stage of strained communication to none at all, and history will continue.
De carácter militar.
An update from Nepal now. Newly appointed Home Minister Om Prakash Aryal has said the formation of the incumbent government aims to conduct the election in a free and impartial atmosphere. While talking to media persons after assuming his office at the ministry on Monday, he said the government was formed with this explicit mandate. According to him, rebuilding physical structures damaged during the recent demonstrations and guaranteeing good governance will be equal priorities of the government. He emphasized that those ousted by the revolt see a path for re-entry. They must test themselves through the election and seek citizens' mandate. While those who claim success through the revolt must have it fully confirmed by the people through the electoral process, he also vowed an investigation into the alleged excessive use of force during the demonstrations on September 8th. And now let's take a look at challenges before the new interim government of Nepal. Well, state institutions destroyed in unrest need rebuilding, with offices relocated and records restored. Cities remain scarred by looting, arson and business losses. Thousands of escapees have jeopardized public safety, demanding joint action by police, military and local authorities. Tourism, the lifeline of Nepal's economy, has been battered, with hotels attacked and global confidence shaken. Young people, now a formidable political force, are demanding reforms and accountability beyond symbolic gestures. And before free and fair elections can be held, peace, security and trust in governance must be restored. And moving on, Sri Lanka's Health and Mass Media Minister Nalinda Jayatissa announced that the ministry is planning health and wellness centres called Arogyo based on Indian primary healthcare system. The event to commemorate the 79th Independence Day of India was attended by High Commissioner of India Santosh Jha, officials from the Indian Mission, members of the Indian community and Friends of India. Speaking at the commemoration dinner of Sri Lanka-India Society, Jayatissa said that the focus and framework of the system will be similar to Indian systems, which he witnessed during his recent visit to India. The minister also invited Indian firms to set up pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities in Sri Lanka.
Implement the system of strengthening the primary health care. I named this program as Arogya. The focus and the framework of this healthcare system is very much similar. I take this opportunity to invite you to start manufacturing sites in pharmaceutical and medical and surgical devices here.
An Argentine President Javier Milei announced to send Congress a 2026 budget proposal prioritizing fiscal balance with 85% of funds allocated to education, healthcare and pensions. Well, the budget includes a 17% real increase for healthcare, 8% for education and 5% for pensions and disability benefits, all above inflation. Milei, whose libertarian government has cut inflation from over 200% to 33% since taking office, faces a critical legislative election next month. His party seeks to gain seats to prevent Congress from blocking his agenda following recent opposition wins in key provincial votes. Argentina has not passed a budget law during Milei's first 2 years in office, and the upcoming election will test his ability to push through economic reforms. And a U.S. District Court judge on Monday rejected a lawsuit by conservation groups challenging the Federal Aviation Administration approval in 2022 of expanded rocket launch operations by Elon Musk's SpaceX next to a national wildfire refuge in South Texas. Well, the environmental groups argued that noise, light pollution and traffic harm the area, which is home to endangered animals like ocelots and sea turtles. Also, the U.S. District Judge Carl Nicholas in Washington said the FAA had satisfied its obligation to take a hard look at the effects of light on nearby wildlife. Since the lawsuit was fielded in 2022, SpaceX has rapidly expanded its rocket production and testing infrastructure at Starbase and increased the cadence of launch tests of Starship. And U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appointed 5 new members to the revamped advisory panel that advises the Center for Disease Control and Prevention on vaccine policy. This comes ahead of the panel's meeting this week to review guidance in a closely watched session that could further reshape the federal vaccination policy. Kennedy dismissed all 17 members of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices in June and installed a new, smaller panel with members who have questioned aspects of mRNA and childhood vaccination. The committee will now have 12 members. And moving on, in El Salvador, during the 204th Independence Day celebrations on Monday, protesters took to the streets and demanded the release of activists and human rights defenders and an end to government human rights violations also. Protesters marched through San Salvador's main streets with families of detainees from the movement of victims of the regime. Moreover, they called for President Bukele's government to implement economic, social and security measures that respect democracy and human rights. Since declaring a state of emergency in March 2022, Bukele has suspended constitutional rights, restricted press freedom and weakened judicial independence. Well, the mourners gathered at Uttaha Valley University to honor Charlie Kirk, a conservative activist who was fatally shot during a campus event. The shooting happened on September 10th, and the suspect, Tyler Robinson, 22, will face formal charges on September 15th. Visitors left flowers and messages at a memorial site. Students and guests expressed shock and sadness, with some saying the trauma will stay with them forever. The university plans to reopen gradually, with classes resuming by Wednesday. And Australia will not require social media giants to verify the ages of all users under its ban on under-16s using the platforms. But platforms like Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok and YouTube are expected to take reasonable steps to stop children from accessing the apps. Australia has been a leader in global effort to prevent internet harm, but current legislation offers almost no details on how the ban will be enforced, prompting concern among experts that it will simply be a symbolic piece of unenforceable legislation. Social media companies have also described the laws as vague, problematic and rushed. Tuesday's long-awaited regulatory guidelines said social media platforms will need to take a multi-layered approach to age checking. And the 18th World Congress of Inclusion International themed Via Inclusion opened at Expo Center Sharjah in United Arab Emirates on Monday. The three-day Congress runs from September 15th to 17th, organized by Sharjah City for Humanitarian Services in collaboration with Inclusion International and the Sharjah Government Media Bureau. The event has drawn more than 500 participants from 74 countries, along with 152 expert speakers, 134 self-advocates and representatives from 125 organizations. Issues like inclusive healthcare, education, economic participation, legal rights and crisis response are being discussed. Among the highlights was expert-led discussions on mental health rights and family-driven awareness initiatives. And well, the World Ozone Day is being observed today with the aim to raise awareness about the protective ozone layer in our atmosphere, often referred to as Earth's umbrella. This day highlights the significance of the ozone layer in shielding the planet and emphasizes the need for its conservation. Well, the World Ozone Day serves as a reminder of the commitment to protect this vital resource, which helps prevent harmful ultraviolet or UV radiation from reaching the Earth's surface. Meanwhile, according to the United Nations, ozone layer continues to heal in 2024, putting it on track for full recovery by mid-century. Latest reports show that the ozone hole last year was smaller than in the recent years. It added that changes in policies and climate change-related events such as wildfires, however, could delay the recovery. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. A shipwreck lost for nearly 92 years has been found off the coast of Ordu in Turkey. Local photographer captured aerial images of wreckage just below the surface of the sea, leading to an investigation by a team of 5 divers. The remains have been confirmed as the Russian freighter Tana, which sank on November 30th, 1933 during a fierce storm while carrying a cargo of kerosene. K-pop boy band 17 and their label Pledis Entertainment have issued an apology following a firework accident that injured 2 fans at the Seoul concert on Saturday. According to Pledis, fireworks accidentally fell into the audience due to a defect in the products. Despite prior safety checks, the 2 injured fans received on-site treatment, and the label vowed to provide full support for their recovery. The Colombian capital of Bogota, in partnership with Universidad Antonio Nariño, is tackling its pigeon population by implementing a large-scale sterilization program. The initiative, now in its first year, has already reduced the pigeon numbers by 70% in key areas like Bolivar Square. Led by Mauricio Cano, the program aims to manage urban wildlife responsibly and address potential public health risks associated with large pigeon populations. In Vietnam's Ho Chi Minh City, a growing number of eateries are using self-deprecating names like terrible sticky rice and only the second best milk tea to stand out in a crowded market. This unique zero-cost advertising marketing strategy is drawing in curious customers. Experts believe this clever approach is effective, especially when advertising budgets are tight. And still to come on DD India Newshour. Income tax filing deadline extended to 16th of September 2025. U.S. stocks push higher ahead of expected Fed rate cut as Fed's two-day gathering concludes. And India's Grand Master Ramesh Babu Vaishali scripts history as she becomes the first player to defend her 5 women's Grand Swiss title. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran and on to some business news now. Stock markets mostly rose on Monday as traders geared up for an expected interest rate cut by the U.S. Federal Reserve this week. Positive signals from U.S.-China economic talks in Madrid also bolstered sentiment. The U.S. side said the deal will be finalized by President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping on Friday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average edged up 0.1%, while the broad-based S&P 500 index added 0.5%. The movements came as investors maintained expectations that the Fed will make its first rate cut of 2025 at the end of its two-day gathering on Wednesday. The Fed is expected to lower borrowing cost by 25 basis points, although some observers predict it could go up to 50 points. And the Income Tax Department has extended the deadline for filing income tax returns or ITRs for the financial year 2025-26 to 16th of September 2025, giving taxpayers one extra day. The original due date of 31st July was first moved to 15 September and now further extended due to technical issues. To support this change, the e-filing portal will be under maintenance from 12 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. on 16th of September. Taxpayers are advised to file early to avoid last-minute hassles. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. India's Grand Master Ramesh Babu Vaishali scripted history as she became the first player to defend her 5 women's Grand Swiss title in Uzbekistan. The Indian Grand Master allowed Tan Zhongzi, a former world champion, to a draw and took the lead, although she and Russia's Katerina Lagno had the same number of points, 8 out of a possible 11, but Vaishali's better tie-break score earned her the coveted crown. She's become the 3rd Indian woman to qualify for the next year's candidates tournament. Divya Deshmukh and Koneru Hampi have already qualified for the previous incident. The winner of the candidates faces the reigning world champion for the ultimate crown. And India scripted a historic moment in global skating as Anand Kumar Velkumar clinched the country's first ever gold at the Speed Skating World Championship in China on Monday. The 22-year-old speedster powered to victory in the senior men's 1,000-meter sprint with a timing of 1:24.924, becoming India's first world champion in the sport. Velkumar has been steadily rising on the international stage. He first gained attention in 2021 with the silver at the Junior World Championships. With 2 historic bronzes in a month, his success marks a breakthrough for Indian speed skating and signals a bright future for the sport in the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Vel Kumar. In a social media post, he said, and I quote, "Proud of Anand Kumar Vel Kumar for winning the gold at the senior men's 1,000 meter sprint in the Speed Skating World Championship 2025. His grit, speed and spirit have made him India's first world champion in skating. His accomplishment will inspire countless youngsters. Congratulations to him and best wishes for all future endeavours," unquote. And Afghanistan seamer Naveen Al-Haq has been ruled out of the ongoing T20 Asia Cup because of an injury. Haq, recovering from a shoulder injury, has not been declared fit by the Afghanistan Cricket Board to participate in the tournament. He did not feature in Afghanistan's Asia Cup opener and missed the tri-series with Pakistan and the UAE in the build-up to the series. He was last seen in action during the Major League Cricket competition for MI New York in June. Reserve pacer Abdullah Ahmadzai, who recently made his international debut, has been added to the main squad for the Asia Cup. And the International Hockey Federation announced that the FIH Hockey Pro League 2025-26 season will commence in December. The 7th edition will be held from 9th December to 28th June in Ireland and Argentina simultaneously. A total of 144 matches will be staged over 7 months among 10 teams. The German and Belgian men's teams will open the season in Ireland, while in Argentina, reigning champions, the Netherlands, take on debutants Pakistan. Well, the Indian men's team will begin its campaign in February against Argentina, and its clashes against Pakistan are slated in June in England. The tournament also doubles up as a qualification for the 2028 Olympics. The winners of the men and women competition will earn direct berths. And United Arab Emirates defeated Oman by 42 runs in Abu Dhabi to secure their first win at the T20 Asia Cup. Batting first, the host posted 172 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in the allotted 20 overs. The foundation was laid by openers Mohammad Wasim and Alishan Sharafu, who added 88 runs. Both the players slammed half-centuries, while Wasim was top scorer with 69 runs. In reply, Oman got off to a disastrous start. They lost 5 wickets for merely 50 runs and were all out for 130 runs. Their 6 batters were dismissed in single digit. Pacer Junaid Siddiqui was part of bowlers with 4 scalps. Well, Thailand is moving to delist the red-whiskered bulbul from its protected wildlife list. The plan seeks to reclassify the popular songbird as an economic species following decades of unofficial breeding and trade. The move will go ahead only with strict regulations to safeguard wild populations. Take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Nipakshi Khurana from Al Passer in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.